Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you back just 30 days ago. I wasn't standing on stages. I wasn't commanding attention. I wasn't speaking with conviction. I was the person in the back of the room, hoping no one would call on me. I was shy, timid, and unsure of my own worth. But I made a decision. And that's the difference, not a wish, not a maybe, a real decision. Because when you decide to stop living small, the universe begins to respond in powerful ways. You see, most people think confidence is something you're born with, that some people are just naturally outgoing, charismatic, magnetic. That's a lie. Confidence is built, confidence is earned, confidence is forged in the fire of repetition, failure, and courage. On day one, I was terrified, but I did it anyway. I looked fear in the face and said, "You're not stronger than me." I started doing things that made me uncomfortable. I said yes to the things I used to run from. And let me tell you, it sucked, but that's the price of transformation. The mind will always look for certainty, but growth only lives in uncertainty. I changed the story I was telling myself. I stopped saying I'm shy. I started saying I'm becoming powerful. Because your identity is your thermostat. You can't outperform your own self-image. So I adjusted my internal thermostat, and guess what? My behavior followed. You want to go from shy to powerful, start acting like it. Speak like it, move like it, breathe like it. On day 5, I walked up to a stranger and sparked a conversation. My heart was pounding, my hands were sweating, but I didn't die. And that's when I learned a massive truth. Fear only has power when you obey it. By day 10, I joined a public speaking group. I stood in front of 5 people and said my name with pride, not perfectly, but powerfully, because power isn't about perfection. It's about presence, about showing up and refusing to back down. On day 15, I started journaling every win. Every time I did something bold, I wrote it down, because your mind needs evidence that you are changing. And guess what? Confidence is nothing but stacked evidence that you can handle life. What you track, you improve, and what you celebrate, you repeat. By day 20, people started noticing. They said, "You've changed." And I smiled because I wasn't changing. I was returning to who I was before fear took over. I wasn't becoming someone new. I was reclaiming my power. Let me ask you, who would you be if you stopped playing small? By day 30, I realized I wasn't just more confident. I was powerful. I could walk into a room and not shrink.
I could speak up and not second. Guess myself. I wasn't looking for validation. I was giving it to myself. And that is where freedom lives. Power is not loud. It's not arrogant. It's certainty. It's knowing who you are and showing up as that person, on purpose, every day.
So here's my message to you. You don't need more time. You don't need more approval. You need a decision, a moment of truth where you say, "I'm done being a prisoner of my own mind." Decide, act, repeat.
That's how you go from shy to powerful in 30 days. And if I can do it, so can you. Fear is a natural part of being human. But what most people don't understand is that fear is not the enemy. It's our relationship with it.
The real enemy is inaction. It's the hesitation. It's the paralysis that comes from listening to the voice inside your head that says, "What if I fail? What if I look stupid? What if they judge me?" That voice will keep you stuck for a lifetime if you don't learn how to deal with it.
The biggest lie we're sold is that we need to eliminate fear in order to take action. That's backwards. You take action in spite of fear, and only then does fear begin to lose its grip on you. There was a time when fear owned me.
I would walk into a room and immediately scan for the safest corner, the seat furthest from the spotlight. I didn't want to be seen because I was convinced that if people saw the real me, they'd reject me. That belief was deeply embedded, but I realized one powerful truth. Fear doesn't go away by avoiding it. It only grows. It becomes louder, more dominant, more controlling. And if you allow it to drive the car of your life, you'll end up nowhere near where you're meant to be. So I started doing the opposite of what fear told me to do. Fear said, "Stay quiet." So I spoke up. Fear said, "Don't raise your hand." So I raised it. Fear said, "Don't approach that person." So I walked right up and introduced myself.
It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't easy,
but I made a promise to myself. I will not let fear make decisions for me anymore. That promise became a personal code, and every day I lived by it. I chipped away at the walls that shyness had built around me. The first few times were terrifying. I felt my heart pound so hard it hurt. My voice trembled, I stumbled over words, but I pushed through, and the magic. Every time I faced fear and did it anyway, I gained a little more confidence. I collected small wins, I gathered evidence that I could survive discomfort, and more than survive, I could thrive in it. That's how power is built, through consistent, intentional exposure to the very things that scare you. You stretch, you break, you grow. People often ask me, how do you get rid of fear? You don't, you dance with it. You get so used to its presence that it no longer intimidates you. It becomes background noise. You learn that fear doesn't mean stop, it means go. Fear is the signal that what you're about to do is meaningful, that it matters, that it has the potential to change your life. And when you respond to that signal with action instead of retreat, you condition yourself to become powerful. The second transformation I experienced was internal. It wasn't just about behavior, it was about identity. I realized that the way I saw myself was the greatest limitation of all. I used to say, I'm shy, like it was a permanent label. Like it was a part of my DNA, but the truth is, identity is not fixed. It's a choice. It's a story we tell ourselves over and over again until we start believing it. The story I was telling myself wasn't serving me. It was built on fear, insecurity, and false assumptions. It said I was awkward, unworthy, invisible, and as long as I lived in that narrative, I acted in alignment with it. You see, the human brain is wired to protect your identity, even if it's a painful one. So if you say, I'm shy, your brain will filter every experience to support that belief. You'll ignore the moments you were bold. You'll discount the times you spoke up. You'll exaggerate your failures and minimize your progress, all because it doesn't fit the story. So I changed the story. I started saying things like, I am confident, I am courageous, I am a leader. And yes, at first it felt like a lie, but I kept saying it. I wrote it down, I visualized it. I acted as if it were true. Because your brain doesn't care whether something is real or imagined. It believes what you repeat. That's the power of identity. You shape it with language, emotion, and repetition. And once you shift who you believe you are, your behavior naturally begins to align. I looked in the mirror and declared out loud, I am powerful. Not once, not twice, but every morning. I made it part of my morning ritual. I didn't wait for evidence. I created it. I stopped seeking permission from others to feel worthy. I gave myself the validation I had been craving from the outside world, and little by little, that new identity took root. I started showing up differently, walking taller, speaking more clearly, making eye contact, taking up space. And the world responded. The beauty of changing your identity is that it doesn't require permission. You don't need a degree, a certificate, or anyone's approval. You just need a decision. You have to stop telling the old story and start telling a new one. Not because it's true yet, but because you're committed to making it true. That shift is everything. Because when you believe you are powerful, you stop tolerating situations where you play small. You stop apologizing for your existence. You stop waiting, and you start leading. Once I had rewired my mind and started behaving differently, I realized that building confidence wasn't just mental or emotional. It was physical. I needed to train for it like an athlete. Confidence isn't just a feeling. It's a skill, a practice, a daily discipline. So I created a system. I built a routine that supported my transformation from the inside out. I started working on my body. Every morning I exercised. No excuses. I didn't do it just for physical health. I did it because motion creates emotion. When you move your body with strength and intensity, you shift your state. You release chemicals that elevate your mood, boost your energy, and increase your sense of power. I did push-ups, ran sprints, jumped rope. Anything that challenged me.
The goal wasn't perfection. It was intensity. I wanted to feel alive. I worked on my voice. I practiced speaking out loud, projecting, articulating.
I recorded myself on video and played it back to improve. I worked on my tone, my pauses, my eye contact. I spoke in front of mirrors. I practiced in my car. I didn't just hope to become confident. I trained like my life depended on it. Because in many ways it did. My future, my relationships, my opportunities, they were all tied to my ability to express myself. I trained my mind. Every day, I visualized my best self. I saw myself walking into rooms with purpose, speaking with clarity, influencing with heart. I listened to empowering audio, read books on mindset and psychology, and fed my brain with the beliefs I wanted to embody. I meditated to become aware of my thoughts and direct them intentionally. I took control of my inner dialogue. I became the gatekeeper of my mind, only letting in what made me stronger. What happened next was astonishing. My energy shifted. People started asking, "What are you doing? You seem different." And I smiled because they didn't see the hours of training. The discipline, the sweat, the fear I pushed through daily, they only saw the result. But that's how growth works. It's invisible at first, but undeniable in the end. You can't fake confidence, but you can build it. Like a muscle, like a skill, like a craft, and the way you build it is through consistent, intentional, uncomfortable repetition. Most people don't want to hear that. They want a shortcut, a hack, a secret. But the truth is simple. You become powerful when you practice power over and over until it's no longer something you do, it's who you are. I stopped waiting for the perfect moment. I stopped planning and started doing. I took massive, imperfect action every single day. I didn't worry about making mistakes. I embraced them because I learned that the path to greatness is paved with screw-ups, embarrassments, and awkward first tries. Nobody starts out confident. Confidence is the reward for stepping up when it's uncomfortable. I remember making phone calls that terrified me, initiating conversations that felt unnatural, sharing my ideas when my voice trembled. And every time I acted, I chipped away at the fear. Every time I stumbled, I learned. Every time I failed, I adjusted. I didn't seek perfection. I sought momentum, because momentum is the fuel of transformation. Action beats anxiety. Every single time, you cannot think your way into power. You must move, speak, try, fail, get back up. You cannot build a sword without fire and pressure. And you cannot become strong by staying safe. I gave myself permission to look foolish, to be rejected, to get it wrong, and in doing so, I set myself free. I freed myself from the need to be flawless. I traded the need to look good for the need to grow. People around me didn't always understand. Some laughed, some doubted, but I didn't do it for them. I did it for the version of me that was waiting on the other side of fear. I did it for the person I could become if I stopped running and started rising. The turning point came when I connected with something deeper than fear, a sense of purpose. I realized I wasn't just building confidence for myself. I was doing it to serve, to lead, to give. I started asking a new question: who loses if I don't show up fully? Who misses out if I stay hidden? That's when things changed, because purpose is more powerful than fear. When your mission becomes bigger than your discomfort, you stop making excuses. You stop focusing on yourself and start focusing on who you can help. I wasn't just trying to feel better. I was trying to make a difference. I wanted to inspire others who were stuck like I had been. I wanted to be the proof that transformation was possible. When I anchored myself to purpose, my voice got stronger. My presence grew bolder. I spoke from a place of truth. I stopped performing and started connecting, because power isn't about dominance, it's about alignment. When your actions align with your values, you become unstoppable. You move from shy to servant, from timid to tenacious, from hesitant to heart-driven. That's what happened to me in 30 days. I didn't become someone new. I became someone real. I peeled back the layers of fear, doubt, and insecurity, and uncovered the power that was always there. And I want you to know that power is inside you too, right now, waiting, ready, but you must decide, you must act, you must commit, because transformation doesn't take years. It takes intensity, it takes intention. It takes showing up for yourself day after day with grit, courage, and a heart on fire. And when you do that, you don't just become confident, you become powerful, unshakably, undeniably powerful. Thank you.